Stephen, one of our friends from the college. Okay, so I'm going to do the speakers. Okay, here we go. So hopefully this works.
All right, good.
So look, and so I'm going to cut that part out for the when we replay it. But there are people that are watching live and stuff like that. So I am you have no idea how excited I am to talk to you.
Thank you.
After, anyway, I'm going to introduce you properly, but after what you went through, which we're going to talk about, I sent you a message on LinkedIn, and I was so shocked that you immediately responded to be like, yeah, okay, so let's talk. And I was like, it was just crazy. Anyway, so I'm like giddy with excitement to talk to you, not only because we hit it off so well. Like the first time we met was you had a class before mine. Yes. And then I had a class, and we walked in, and it was like two fireworks. I know, like the fireworks that went off. I was like, "Who are you? You're gorgeous. I love you." And then you interviewed me because you were doing that series of interviews with people around the college. And I had so much fun doing that with you, except I look back on the video and I had forgotten your name. When you introduced me, I was like, hi.
I didn't even know that. Shame on you.
I know. I felt so dumb. I was like, oh.
That's okay. That's okay.
Anyway, okay. So I want to introduce you before we get into the good stuff, because you and I can talk. I know you and I can talk. So I want to introduce you. So yeah, you and I met at Durham College, and you are an expert in doing videos. And so that's where we sort of met. What class were you teaching? I'm not going to remember what class you were teaching at Durham College.
Several different communications classes, first and second year, but I think the one I was teaching at the time with you was first year communications.
Oh, but that's right. Okay, yeah. And so you just received your Master of Arts.
Yes.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Hallelujah.
Oh my gosh, that's such a big deal. It's a big
Thank you.
It's a big deal. And I see my friend Dawn Salters on the call too, and so I'm excited.
Hi, Dawn.
And Dawn.
Hi, Kim.
Hi.
Nice to see you, lovely ladies.
Thank you, Dawn.
Yeah, so you got your Master of Arts in Education in Digital Technology. Amazing, right? Mm-hmm. You're a salsa instructor.
I have been a salsa instructor. Actually, not to cut you off, but I was asked to teach a salsa class in my rehab, believe it or not. So I had a bunch of nurses and therapists. Anyways, it was kind of fun.
I love salsa dancing. And I was going to say, and a proud wife and mom, because your husband, we want to talk about your husband too, even though I didn't send you those questions ahead of time.
That's okay.
But your husband seems to be like a gem.
He's a rock star.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you're a mom. And so we're going to talk today also about, we're going to have fun, but we're also going to talk about some serious adversity.
Yes.
Some serious adversity. And then particularly in the past year, you've really overcome some amazing things. And I think literally, I'm sure if anybody said to you, if anybody didn't know your backstory, which pretty much anybody in Durham region knows your story. But looking at you right now, Kim, you look like
I clean up okay.
You look amazing. You look amazing. I know you've got some stuff to talk about, and you probably got some other things, but look, I would never in a million years. No, you look amazing. You look terrific. So regardless, you were always gorgeous. You're continuing to be gorgeous, and you're just one of the nicest people I've ever met. So I'm so happy to chat with you. So
thanks, Leslie.
Yeah. Okay. So I've written all these questions down. I'm so excited. I've written all these questions down, and so we talked about your Master of Arts. And also, okay, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit so seriously, what is Kimberley doing now?
What do you do? That was the first question you sent me. So there's a couple of things, and throughout this discussion, I'll kind of share the professional and the personal. So before my attack in the summer, I had spent the previous year almost exclusively focused on writing my thesis. I needed to get that done. So I took a break from teaching just to allow myself that freedom. And I also did some video production work for clients. So It was my intention to get back to teaching this past September while continuing to produce videos, but things changed with my attack. So hopefully I'll get back to teaching this September. I'm also in the process of developing a course on how to promote yourself to potential employers using video, and I'll be using a lot of the content from my thesis, which focused on the use of asynchronous video interviews in the hiring process. And interestingly, this was considered an emerging trend when I was doing my thesis. But since the pandemic, this kind of thing has been fast tracked. So a lot of companies are now using video to hire people. So those are my professional goals. My personal goals include writing a book, basically about the things that I feel contributed to my resilience in order to endure the attack. It'll be somewhat autobiographical memoir, I guess you would call it, and includes some of the details of my attack. And interestingly, there's a lot of details that I don't even know about, and I'm not allowed to know at this point. The Crown told me I sometimes will feel out of the loop because I'm not allowed to know things. So I'm hoping as these things get resolved, I'll be able to share some of those details with everyone, and maybe there'll have to be a part 2 to my book. I'm also actively promoting my Be Positive messaging through my YouTube channel and website. And this is a new endeavor that's still taking shape, but the messaging is designed to inspire hope and positivity into the viewers. And while it's targeted at women, I feel the messaging also applies to males. And in fact, my husband and my son are helping to create the content. And since my attack, my husband has actually taken quite a proactive stance with advocating for the end of violence against women. So the Be Positive messaging, although it has originated with my attack, it will not only focus on violence against women, it will promote resiliency in general, and how it can be developed through adverse experience. So.
It's just, you're doing so many things. And you just like taken the ball and run with it. And I remember messaging you, and I hope I'm not saying anything offside, but I like what I knew right away. And I remember, like, Dawn's one of my closest friends. And so I just remember pinging her and messaging her and saying, like, if anybody's going to thrive through, like, thrive is probably the bad, maybe not a great word for it. I don't know. This is not my language. It's your language. But insofar as someone who's going to like be, I don't know how to even frame it, but I just knew you were going to be okay. Like, I knew that there's some people
girl power.
I know, but there's some people that could have taken, and I'm sure this is a part of your story with the resilience, that some people could become, and everyone deals with it very, very differently, but some people would not have, I don't know the word for it, Kimberly.
I think I know what you're trying to say, and this is partly why I thought about writing a book, because I don't know why am I able to handle this? Like, why am I not cowering in a corner with the blanket over my head, but I'm not. And why? What's the difference? And if there is some clues, some key things in there that we can learn through studying, through sharing each other's stories, that we can then give and teach to young women, then that's what we need to do. And that's part of what one of my objectives is.
Oh, it's so great, because I just find that year over year, and I love that we're talking about, like, just in general, that the media and everything is talking about, like, mental health and wellness and those kinds of things. I think it's amazing. I also see that, year over year with my students, I find that that's a big topic of discussion, and people aren't, like, the word for you, thriving, they're not as resilient. I don't know if this is a generation. This is completely offside. This is not a new question that we have answers to. But I just find that you're right. Like, what causes one person to be resilient and to, you've been through arguably one of the worst things that anybody could ever have gone through. And how you just, like, it was not even a year ago, and you're already back at it. You're already doing videos. You're already working again. Didn't you defend your master's? Like, how many months after?
In November. I was determined to finish it this year. So, and actually an interesting thing was, my supervisors had put a leave of absence in place for me. So when I came back from the hospital and rehab, there was no expectation that I would finish it. They've said, do it whenever you're ready. And in my mind, I was like, my God, I've taken so long to get this thing done. Let's just get it done already. And then when I went online on my computer, what I discovered was that I had prepared half of the defense already, and I totally forgot. So all I had to do was fill in, make the slides and fill in some more details, and I was kind of already done anyway. So luckily, I was able to finish it last year. Done.
And that was only like how many months after your attack? Like it was only.
Let me see. I came home September 19th, and 2 months after I came home. So I guess 4 months after my attack. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Like.
Yeah.
Oh.
Take that, attacker.
We got some choice words for that guy. Yeah. So I think that like all the things that you're doing and you've done stuff with like CMA Next. And so, the one thing I wanted to mention to you, since you said you're working on stuff with video, I just read.
Yes.
LinkedIn is launching, the cover image in behind our photo.
Yes.
They just announced it today that there's going to be like video bios or something. People are going to be able to put videos up in there. So this is all up your alley.
Awesome. Yes, it is.
Because, and you have a background in, is it theater? Did you say? Like I read somewhere that you have
TV commercials.
No kidding.
Yeah. So in my mid-20s, actually, I started getting involved in that, and I loved it. It's fun. It's like it's an opportunity to play. Like auditioning is the opportunity to play, to be someone who's not yourself, and to be goofy and silly and sometimes serious. But I've been pursuing that on and off for, I guess, 20 something years now. And so I've always had a comfort level with video, but a lot of it is more not taking myself seriously, but kind of the opposite. Like how can you have some fun in life? So and being on camera is part of that. So
it's always a question I ask people with this very, like, I mean, you're only the fourth person I think I talked to, but that's like being in front of the camera is people's number one fear, right? And so how did you, like, were you just always naturally okay with being in front of the camera? Did you ever have any sort of nerves?
I think I was one of those kids that was very artsy in the sense that they love to do drama and dance, and I was very sociable, and I wasn't overly nervous about what other people thought of me, I guess. And so it just turned out that as I kind of got interested in doing TV commercials, that the more I went and auditioned, I mean, you mostly audition, you rarely get picked for anything, but it was just so much fun, to be honest. And I met dozens of other people that were like that were like, oh, let's go out and let's have a good time. And you go to auditions, and behind the door you hear everyone laughing and stuff. So I mean, it just was part of my personality, I guess you could say. I like to have fun, and I was never afraid in front of the camera. Never. I don't know why.
Yeah. Because I've talked to people. I was nervous. I mean, I'm not shy to talk to people. Right. But Dawn's got a comment in her side chat here about that casting sessions are more fun than finished products.
Yes, definitely. Oh my God.
I've never been on the casting session.
You've been on the social, so I'm pretty sure you've been on some kind of casting session.
Oh, I guess. But I just basically, all I did was, having worked in traditional publishing, I knew that some of my friends who were the editors would say, like, editors and producers are always looking for good content. So I had a crazy story. And so in one of those fits of, I got this today. You know what I mean? When those days when you're like, I'm going to put myself out there, because I could say I'm getting better as I'm getting older, but a few years ago, it was like putting myself out there. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of that, like, imposter syndrome and who am I and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I just was in one of those days where I was just like, I'm going to do this. And I messaged the producer and told them my crazy story, and they said, okay. And then I went I was like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. Like, I was freaking out for days.
You signed up. Yeah.
I signed up. Thank God Dawn came with me, because I at least had a little bit of a cheerleading team with me to go with me and say, like, you can do this, you can do this. And I was freaking out. So yeah, and it was a little terrifying, but it was kind of like, I equated to like jumping out of a plane, which I've also done. And it was like the most amazing experience, and it's terrifying. And then when you're done, you're like, again.
Yes, exactly. You got it. You nailed it.
So even with these videos, like even like this morning, my nerves were starting, and I knew I was going to get so excited. But I think in some ways they've reframed my fear of to excitement towards.
Yes.
Instead of an away from, it's a towards. So I know I've been wanting to talk to you forever. So again, I'm so excited. So you got, okay, so I've got to these notes here, and so we've got your career started in the hospitality industry, and then you said you went on camera and acting and all that other stuff, which sort of got you into video production. So you don't mind being in front of the camera, you don't mind being behind the camera. It's all the above.
Right.
So
I don't mind at all. So like, one of the questions you asked was, who do you work with?
Yeah.
Right. And so professionally, I know she's like, oh yeah, that's right, I asked that question. Professionally, the course that I'm working on right now, it's targeted at job seekers entering the job market. So my niche would kind of be college and university grads looking for employment, as well as those that may not necessarily have a post-secondary education, but who are looking for ways to stand out with employers through using video. So personally, with my Be Positive messaging, what I'm looking to do right now is interview women who are willing to share their stories of resilience, what they've experienced in whatever detail they're willing to share, what they've learned, and what advice they'd give to other women. The experiences don't have to be extreme either, because I was struck by lightning, basically. So you don't have to have a struck by lightning story. Every story has value. So what I hope to create is a safe space for women to share their experiences and also give back to women. Because there's a lot who desperately need the insights and encouragement from other women. A lot of women, I think, feel very alone. So there's a couple of objectives that I'm working on right now.
Yeah, I think, the pandemic has certainly sort of magnified all of that too, that when people are living in isolation or they can't talk to people. And so it's really challenging as all of us on such various different levels. But 100%, I think once people have gone through adversity, that there's always that platitude of like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And it's sort of like, yeah. But it's so true. It's all of those crappy things that we deal with in life that really help us to like ladder up in a way. It's like I don't know, a friend of mine used to say, because when I've gone through my micro adversities, like compared to like what some other people, but it was relative to me at the time, and just not being able to get out of my funk. And it was sort of like either the phoenix rising through the ashes, or the whatever sort of metaphor of the butterfly that's been in the cocoon, or things like that. Once somebody has gone through a certain level of adversity, they do find afterwards that they're just a whole different person afterwards. Like it's amazing that once you do go through tough times, as long as you are committed to learning something from it, I think, instead of wallowing in it. And I think there's like a bit of a mind shift there too, Kimberly, because some people love to stay in that place where they're like, some people like to kind of stay in that in a way. I've seen that where people will sort of label themselves and sort of stay in that place because they get attention that way.
I think that's an interesting point. And I know, I think one of the questions you have on here, hopefully I don't go into it. I've got my notes. Like a misconception. One of the questions you had is, what's the biggest misconception people have about what you do?
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to the Be Positive messaging, perhaps there's a misconception that I'm using the attack to gain attention, like in a self-serving or narcissistic way. For instance, there's a publication ban on against using my name and image in the media, which is kind of a joke because everyone knows who I am. And anyways, whatever. But I understand it's.
Yeah, I was going to say it was weird because originally your name was everywhere. And so people were talking about it. And then I was, I can't remember why, but I think I put something out there, or we're resharing some of the, I think it was the GoFundMe. And I was like encouraging other people to participate. And then I got sort of like, you know, privately, like, don't say her name in public. And I was like, oh, okay. And so it was like this, it was this where everybody wanted to protect you, obviously. And everybody's idea was to protect you. But I think it was sort of tough in a way, because it was sort of like, where do we go from anyway? And I realized that's not about you, because you were in the hospital. You had no control.
I was out of it.
So, anyway.
But I know it's meant to protect me. And to be honest, I think the main idea of protecting me was because I was sexually assaulted. And they try not to advertise that. But everyone knew what the perpetrator was arrested and charged with. So it kind of goes without saying, you know, so we all know that happened. So I understand they want to protect me, but you know, people are very curious about what happened to me. Sometimes about maybe the wrong details, but people want to know how I'm doing. To be honest. So if the attention that I get through my videos and my messaging can help people, then it not only helps those people, but it helps me heal too. And I need to know that that traumatic experience is not something to feel shame about, that it's something to talk about and learn from. And how can we as women in society help each other be stronger and more resilient? And I'm not shying away from what happened to me, how brutally beaten. My face was smashed. My jaw was smashed. It was broken in two significant areas and then smashed all around that. So right now I have very little feeling, and I lisp when I talk. My teeth are out of alignment now. It's pretty severe. And then being sexually assaulted too. I mean, that's not something maybe a lot of people would want to talk about, but as women, as a woman who that happened to, I need to use that to help other women. In what way, that is yet to be revealed, but I'm willing to do what I can to help other people. So that's one of the, you know, perhaps, you know, I want to put a blanket over my head and hide. I don't. And it's not that I want attention. I want to turn that attention into how it can help other people, I guess.
And I think that's the, you know, when I used to work at Children's Wish, the Children's Wish Foundation, which is now called the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And the same thing was sort of like, oh, are you, you know, as an organization, are you sort of, I don't know if the word is capitalizing, or like, just, are you using the kids to tell the story? And it's like, well, you know, people do care about you, Kimberly. Like that, like the whole community rallied, and people were really caring about, because anybody who's met you adores you. And so there was just so many people that were just like, what can I do? And I've seen, you can talk about this because this is your story. But insofar as like the people that came and brought you guys food, and there was so much, the community really rallied for you, because you know, it was, you go ahead and
well, my husband and I have talked about this in different videos, but the kind of community support that we received, that was directed at me, just blew us away. Like, unbelievable. Even to this day, as you probably know, that Ontario Tech University, led by Dr. Jeanette Hughes and Dr. Robin Kay, initiated a scholarship in my name, which, when I read that, it made me cry. I've cried a lot from happy tears because of the goodness in people's hearts and the love that exists in society that we often don't see. And it takes an event like this to kind of bring that out and to show that there is good in the world, and there's good in people, and that people just want to help. And even things like the GoFundMe campaign, it took a long time before I even looked I didn't look at who donated what. I didn't. What I noticed was like even small donations, like $10, those kinds of donations meant so much to me, because during a pandemic, when people are losing their jobs and they're broke and they like are having to find money to buy groceries and pay like all that they thought to give even a little bit to me meant so much. And I didn't know probably 95% of the people that donated. So that in itself was huge. And then the Take Back the Walk put on by the Durham Regional Police, like, wow. And what that told me was not only was there the walk, but there were like satellite walks that were taking place, and neighborhoods came together, and women, different female groups, and yoga studios, vigils were put on. Like there were so many initiatives that what happened to me incited that. And I'm kind of out of the picture. What it said was people want to come together and help one another. And those are the things we need to focus on going forward.
Oh, 100%. I think, yeah. And it's, yeah, I don't even know where to go with this, because I mean, the one thing that I do want to mention, and I mentioned this before we sort of went quickly, we didn't really connect ahead of time too quickly before we went live. But I just wanted to like talk a little bit about, how do people talk to you? I mean, when insofar as like people do care and people want to reach out, and I sort of, as I mentioned, like the thing that I didn't like whenever I went through adversity was that, hi, how are you? Like that, like you're kind of like, I'm still me. So we talked a really little brief thing about that. So people are either afraid to say anything at all. So they're just going to avoid it altogether and not address it. Or they're going to give you the, and I didn't want that. I didn't want that. So tell me, like if people want to talk to you about this, like how, or people want to talk to somebody who's been through trauma, like how, from your perspective,
it's a really good question, actually, because I think people that don't know me maybe would have that kind of maybe a bit of a pity approach, and it's totally understandable, because I think anyone would feel sorry for someone that was attacked like that. But anyone that does know me, like yourself, you're not surprised that okay, this terrible thing happened, but life goes on.
And you're still
life goes on.
And you're still Kimberley. You're still Kimberley.
I'm still me. Yeah, I'm still the exact same person. And it's really funny, because like that's kind of what I was saying about the misconceptions, like, oh, you're talking about it, you're creating videos, like, what does that say? Like, I don't know, like, what are my options? Are my options to just hide myself from the public and go totally offline and stop being who I am? Because wouldn't that let someone's actions control me? Like, why would I choose that? And on top of that, like, what happened, like, my God, like I just said, the way the community came together, finding all of these positive takeaways that I can share, and we can build on that together. Like, I don't want to say I feel lucky it happened to me. That sounds like a really warped thing to say, but what I do feel is that I'm glad it didn't happen to someone else, if that makes sense. Like, I'm so glad that some young 18-year-old girl wasn't attacked, who could have destroyed her entire life. That maybe someone who wasn't as physically in good health or whatever, or emotionally was maybe in a bad situation. If it happened to one of those types of people, maybe they wouldn't have come out of it on the other side the way I have. So in some respects, I'm glad it happened to me and not someone else, as weird as that sounds. But what can we do going forward? We put one foot in front of the other, and we move forward, onward and upwards, and everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. I think what's interesting too about that is that, your husband, whom I haven't met yet, But he's like, he calls you Kim Possible. You know, you have such amazing support from an amazing man who is, I mean, I want to cry for him because I'm sure it's so much harder. I think I've seen some videos where, you know, from your husband's perspective, probably from your son's perspective. I haven't seen him on camera. He's probably a little shy about being on camera. But
the only son. Yeah.
But from their perspective, I'm sure that it's much harder for them, especially as men. You know, like men want to protect the women in their lives. And so can you talk a little bit about that from his
Sure. I mean, my husband and my son, but they are the ones that I would say experienced the trauma. Yes, physically I experienced trauma that I've had to deal with, but emotionally, mentally, they are the ones that were experienced the trauma because I was missing for 14 hours. Then once I was found, a lot of drama took place. Like I had 4 cardiac arrests. The ambulance went to the Oshawa airport, and there was an orange helicopter waiting to take me to St. Mike's. But once they arrived at the airport, I had a cardiac arrest. So they had to redirect me to the Oshawa hospital. And once I got there, I had 3 more cardiac arrests. Like the medical teams at all hospitals have no idea why I'm alive, basically. So all of that, the trauma that took place as a result of that, going to St. Mike's, being placed in a coma. My husband was told I had global brain damage and would be a vegetable. Interestingly, after that, they put me in a coma, and right before they did surgery, they did another brain scan because they figured whether we do the surgery will be dependent on her brain. And when they did the other brain scan, they found I had no brain damage. So it's really funny. Sometimes you just need to wait, right? Anyway, so all of that, the trauma was experienced by my husband and my son, of course. But the way he handled it, I'm like, he's my rock star. He's my champion, 100%. He didn't leave my side at the hospital. It was COVID. Obviously, he wasn't even supposed to be there, but the nurses and the doctor gave him access to a room with a couch and chairs, and gave him a key and said, "You can stay there." So he would kind of like have little naps, and he'd get up and he'd come and he'd sit in front of the glassed-in room where I was unconscious, basically just lying there in a coma, and he would sit all day. He didn't go home for 10 days. He would sit all day and he would talk to me, and he'd stick his phone through the door and he'd play me songs, and he'd read messages that people sent. So all of that, and I 100% believe this, all of those messages, all of that love and positivity, my subconscious recorded that, took that in, absorbed it. And I'm sure when I finally came to, like, my brain was already pumped with positivity, and it really, really helped me. I'm 100% sure of that. But he's my star, I have to say. He's an absolute champion.
Yeah, he seems like a really great, like an amazing, amazing human being. And so, yeah. And so and so it's interesting because you're B positive and my blood is A positive. So maybe that's why we're both so positive. I'm A positive, you're B positive. So is that why you started the B positive movement? I mean,
Correct.
Yes.
It's like, because when the story is that when I was taken to the ICU, the nurses were asking Rob, my husband, a bunch of questions. What's your allergies? What medications is she on? And what's her blood type? And he actually started to cry that he didn't know my blood type because he thought she needs help, but I don't have crucial information for them. You know, but in all honesty, none of us really know our blood type. I don't know. It's not common, right? So anyways, they said, don't worry, no problem. They took my blood, and then they came back to him later that night and said, just so you know, your wife's blood type is B positive. And he broke down again. He said, of course it's B positive. What else could it be? You know, so it's kind of funny how that story is kind of cute, you know. So he wrote a song called "Be Positive" that was just released this month, and so when he came home and kind of mentally was in a better place, he started working on that song, and then it just released the song and the new album, the song "Be Positive." So what was interesting that we discovered right around the same time, there's a new sitcom called Be Positive, which you've probably heard of. It's kind of really, really bizarre. I actually haven't seen it, but so the hashtag Be Positive and the messaging Be Positive, you'll either see my stuff or this sitcom.
Oh, no kidding. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I think sometimes that's a little serendipity too, when you think about it, like maybe there's a reason for it, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's funny.
And I think the other thing that I sort of only want to mention, because it was something that I'm so glad that you mentioned to me, and my mom went through a brain injury when she was young too, and so I wanted to like let other people know that you said you don't have any memories of anything, and that's what happened with my mom with her brain injury too. Is like there's some sort of like comfort in kind of knowing that you don't have any recollection of anything.
Like that's definitely something that I feel is I'm really blessed, if you want to use that term, about, is that I don't remember a single thing that happened to me. In fact, I've lost my memory up until from about the week before, up until, I guess, about a month going forward. So I know, like, Rob and I did a live stream of a concert of his the Sunday before. I don't have any recollection of that, and I'm the one that led it. So it's really funny how that happened. But so what's interesting is that I'm not consciously aware, but I'm subconsciously aware, and my body is aware. So it may be like, oh, you don't remember, that's why it doesn't bother you. But honestly, my body and my subconscious remember, and those two things should not be underplayed. There's a lot of injuries that I have on my body, and it's one of my therapists pointed out that quite possibly during the attack, I'm right-handed, so I was protecting myself with my right arm and my right leg, because once I came home and started getting therapy, I had a lot of problems on the right side of my body. So my body remembers everything that happened. And obviously, even right now, I still have to deal with the, recuperating with my face. So I really hope, fingers crossed, that I never become aware of what took place. But if I should, hopefully the things I'm doing now are protective, building up positive messages, trying to find ways to have healthy distractions, and all the support. We'll deal with that if it happens, but hopefully it won't.
Well, I would assume, and of course I'm not even close to being a doctor, is that you're
not.
Just in case anyone didn't know, is like just your positive energy, you're just the way, I'm sure it's helped with healing too. Like I've done a little bit of reading, and like in the subconscious and the resilience, like is and as you said, like the community coming together and your husband supporting you through all of that, even from a subconscious level, I'm sure that it has a lot to do with the fact that you have been you have been thriving, you have been resilient through all of this. And so I'm sure that probably has a big part of it. And you having that support system of your husband and his positivity, seems like a great guy.
Amazing support and sending positive messages and praying, I guess, and sending positive what act, all of that, and it makes me really curious, like how receiving all that positivity, because we're all energy. So I absorb so much positive energy, and of course that had to have helped. I have no question about that. Exactly how, I don't know. I'm not trained in that type of thing, but I just think that being able to be receiving of so much positive wishes, thoughts, energy had to have helped. And I might be something I'll look into in the future, because maybe that's something we can also share with young women, like how you can project positive things on other people to help them.
Yeah, I've taken a few courses in something called Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and there's a lot to do. Do you know about it? Did you take land?
I only vaguely know about it. Very, very interested in it.
Okay,
very
it's
curious.
So cool. Sorry, my internet keeps cutting out, so just keep talking.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Oh.
So if I'm like static, then just keep talking. Yeah, the Neuro-Linguistic Programming is so interesting, because it's at what, and you've already done this. You've reframed your brain. You can go, like, you come to this fork in the road, and you can go this way or you can go this way, and you've taken the high road. You've taken the be positive road. And so it's just taking adverse situations and sort of seeing, like, what can I learn from this? How can I, if I were sort of to give advice to other people, which is now exactly what you're doing, right? You've been through it, you know firsthand what you're going through, and now you're able to help other people, go through adversity, go through the challenges, to say, like, I've been there, and people are going to trust your message more than they're going to trust somebody that hasn't been and hasn't walked around in their shoes, right?
Well, I'd like to try, and I think that's kind of part of why that maybe others don't have. And it doesn't mean that you have to go through something extreme like this. What are the things, the underlying strengths in women? And what I've learned is, coming from a white picket fence life, which I have not, doesn't necessarily make you stronger. In fact, sometimes the more you've had the stuff kicked out of you, the more resilient you are. I don't know. That's not necessarily a good thing, but yeah, definitely taking this experience and using it to the good. What else can I do? Why would I wallow? Try not to wallow anyway. I'll try not to.
Well, yeah, and I mean, we've all had I've read some of the stuff, and we shared notes ahead of time, and you said, like, you do have those days. Like, none of us have, even though some of us are like, like, people will see me as being bubbly. There's days like you cry. You have those days of, like, why me? Like, right? I'm sure you've had those days.
I do. Yeah. Like, I definitely. I do feel sad sometimes, and frustrated and stuff, and a lot of that comes from the different physical things I've had to endure. Like, when I've posted this in a video, in case you haven't seen it, I with my face, it was so numb, right? And I lisp a little bit and stuff. I'm like, when is the anesthetic gonna wear off my face? And I asked the neurologist that. I'm like, when is the anesthetic going to wear off my face? Because I can't feel it. And she, like, looks at me like, it's not anesthetic, it's nerve damage. Oh. And I remember feeling, like, so deflated. I thought, are you kidding me? This is my face now? Like, I can't even feel it. And anyway, so from that, okay, what do I do with this? How do I fix this, right? And it's just, sometimes it just takes time. You just have to give yourself time and adjust to the new normal. So I recently had a photo shoot done, and I posted a video about that, about how I need to embrace the changes to my face. And you said, like, it's not too extreme, it maybe to the viewer, it's not that extreme. To me, it's kind of like, oh geez, now, like, my teeth are all messed up. I've got pinches and scars and stuff. And okay, so what do I do? Do I hide from the public, or do I just go, this is the new me, let's take pictures? So that's what we did. And now I have new pictures, and so I've changed, but inside I'm not different. I'm still the same goofy out there person that just wants to move forward and make the best out of a bad situation.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And I think, like, so many of us, I mean, I think there's so many people that would, and it's funny, because, like, I realize, as I've already processed, my brain, my squirrel in my brain is already running around going, why did you bring up how pretty she was in the beginning? Because that's really not relevant, you know, like it's really not that relevant, but it kind of is in a way, because we want to still be ourselves. We still want to, you know, you know, be ourselves out in the anyway. So I just want to, like, I didn't want to apologize for it, but I wanted to recognize it, that that's not the core of who you are. You're a beautiful person. You always have been, regardless. Anyway, so I just wanted to sort of backtrack on.
I know. And that's kind of one of the points I made in the video, you know, like before this happened to me, all of my initiatives were public facing. So whether it was in front of the classroom or on video, or, you know, interviewing people, going to networking events, it's like you're in the public, right? So, okay, so what do you do now with this? So your face is a bit different. Okay, so, but people that have never met you don't know.
They don't know.
Like, this is who I am. And people that have met me and know me, you know, it's kind of like when you get to know someone that maybe you don't find considerably attractive, that after spending time with them, if they're really nice, you start to consider them attractive.
Yeah.
Not even of the opposite sex, but even like girlfriends,
Yeah.
right? It's like, oh, you're so pretty.
Yeah.
And the person is so pretty because they're just so nice.
Yeah.
They're just a good person. So we need to, like, sort of take away the trepidation with, oh my God, I don't look the way I used to look. No, guess what? I don't look the way I used to look. And here's why. Let's talk about it.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
So,
We struggle, as I'm struggling and I'm getting older, you know, I'm like, oh, as I keep saying, like, and how vain that I'm like worried about, like, oh, you know, I'm starting to see this go. It happens to all of us, right?
Can I tell you? I'll share with this publication ban how initially they used my name and whatever. Then when they realized they couldn't, how did they talk about me in the headlines? 50-year-old Whitby woman is attacked. I'm like, oh my God. All of these years, I've been able to keep quiet how old I am. And thanks to the media, now everybody knows how old I am.
Well, you and me both, girl. Here's the good news, though. Somebody was pointing out recently that they were saying, like, all the Golden Girls were in their 50s when that show came.
Wow. I didn't know that.
And
oh my God.
The other thing was, you know, Wilfred Brimley? Do you remember Cocoon? Because we're the same age.
Yes,
so Wilfred Brimley was 50 years old when he was so we're doing okay, sister. We're doing okay.
Well, it was really funny because one person had made a comment on a news post when, you know, my name was referenced, my age was referenced, and they said, "Oh, look at how the government treats our seniors. They need to help us." I was like, "Oh my God! If I didn't feel old before, now I do." Anyways, it's really quite comical, isn't it? Because the perception or the 50, it sounds old.
It does.
But I don't feel old.
I know.
And anyways, like, there's a huge bright future ahead. So let's just work with it.
Yeah, as Jennifer saying,
50 is the new 30.
Woo! Yes.
Yes.
That's exactly the. I mean, sometimes when I teach my students, I'm sure you felt the same way. I felt like I'm the same age as these guys, and then I realized my son, like your son's like 20, right?
22.
So he's the same age as these like students, and I'm like, oh wait, I am an entire like I could be their mom, you know, like I could.
Oh
be
my God, it's terrible. I have to ask his advice about things a lot of the times. Like, does this sound old, or how do I make? Yeah.
Oh, totally. And then my son's like, Mom, you're so cringy. And he's 14, so everything that I do is just annoying to him. So,
oh, poor Leslie.
So what advice do you have to help people stand in their value? I mean, we talked some of this already. Maybe we've covered it, but I mean, this is what you did before too, is helping people stand in their value and tell their story.
Yeah. Well, it's really, really interesting, some of the revelations that have come out of this and some of the research I've done. But this might be kind of an odd response to this question, but I'm just going to say it. I was raised in a very high controlling religion that promotes the practice of shunning unbelieving family members, discourages post-secondary education, like they say the university is dangerous, and places women in positions of submission to men's authority. along with a lot of other backwards practices and views. So if any other women have been raised in that type of environment, they know how difficult it is to recognize their own value, because essentially you've been taught not to. Right? So it's actually the rejection that I experienced from leaving that religion that forced me to take a long, hard look at who I was and to question my own value. So being rejected by those you thought loved you, and it can make or break you. So what it did for me was help me to recognize that other people's rejection of me has nothing to do with my value and potential as a person. In fact, I've been able to draw on the lessons learned from this rejection to see me through rejection in other domains, like, for instance, not getting a job I interviewed for, and most recently not being accepted into the PhD program I applied to. So rejection has helped me.
Warm up? Do I have to do some throat punches for like hitting? Who's gonna reject my Kimberley?
Yeah, you can punch me if you want. I'm pretty. But the rejection, I don't know. It's kind of helped me.
I meant the people who rejected you. I'm not.
Yeah,
that's the person I'm not. That's who I want to get
yeah,
mad at.
Yeah,
that's
you could get a team together.
Yeah.
And
I mean, virtually.
Yeah, no.
Again, I'm using the worst metaphor, Kimberly. Like, here I am sticking I'm only opening my mouth long enough to stick my other foot in it.
It went over my head. It totally went over my head. So don't even worry. But it's like the rejection. I think we all experience rejection, and the feelings that I had from rejection, those feelings of unworthiness, have switched to feelings of hopefulness, right? So being rejected in one endeavor in your life frees up space to pursue endeavors in other areas, and recognizing your own value and potential becomes more evident the more you put yourself out there for others to recognize it. So don't hide, and if you get rejected, that's okay. Next, move on.
Do you think that helped with the resilience too, Kimberly, like having to go through that? Because that must have been really, really tough. And I did see your other video about that. And so that's a really hard thing to do, to be able to actually extricate yourself from that situation. Like, what gave you the strength to do that way back then? Or was it just you were just always a tough kid?
Well, it's funny because what I've discovered through kind of researching in the past several months since I've been home is the number of people that are born into these high controlling fundamentalist religions, and the impact it has on their lives, like the controlling impact, and how it pushing away education, telling women not to get educated, telling women to obey your husbands, and if you're being beaten by your husbands, well, maybe you're not being subjective enough, in submission enough to your, really warped ways of thinking. So, but when you're born into something, it gets into your brain's network, right? You just think that's the way it is. So breaking free from that is hard enough. But then experiencing, well, I now reject you. You're dead to me. That takes, oh my God, I'm a pathetic loser, but you're not, it just takes time to invest in yourself, to realize that you have so much potential and so much value, and you're so worthy. You just have to surround yourself by people who lift you up, not who try and put a thumb on your potential.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people out there that don't like people who go through change. They want to keep you in that box of no, this is the way you were. Yeah. Let's just keep you there because that makes me feel comfortable. I don't like that kind of thing.
You nailed it. Yeah. You nailed it right there.
Yeah. I think a lot of us have done that, especially going through any kind of change in our lives. And sometimes when we feel more powerful and we're speaking up for ourselves is when people don't like it. People are and then there's a word for that, right? Okay, you're speaking up for yourself. So then you get labeled as difficult, or the B word, or not the B positive word, but
not the B positive word. No. And it's very true. And it's been really enlightening. And to be honest, writing the book that I'm writing, the memoirs, I guess you could say, a lot of the theme throughout it is my experience in this fundamentalist religion, and how it impacted different parts of my life in very serious ways. The fact that I'm on the other side and have, completed 2 degrees now, and I'm happily married, and I've taught salsa, and I'm like all of these really exciting things I never would have done. Never would have done if I stayed under the cloud of that. And I think it's really important for women who are looking to help other people, whether even if you're a teacher or in education, understanding what some of those young women are going through and how they've been raised, not to to tell them it's bad, but just to have some insight into the suppressive nature of potentially their upbringing, and how they're too embarrassed to tell you, I'm not allowed to do that. I'm not, I don't feel good about myself, because they haven't been taught how to feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's tough too. I mean, I don't want to, we've only got five more minutes, and you and I could talk forever.
5 minutes.
But I think, as a parent, I think what's tough for me too, and I'm sure you found the same thing raising your son, is like, as a parent, we want to protect our children. And I think in some ways I have to sit on my hands and go, okay, he's got to fail sometimes. And it's so hard because I want to protect him. I want to save him from adversity, but I just know that it was those adversity, it's those things, those challenges that you have to overcome that help to build that resilience, that help to build there's like a muscle. I think maybe you said that. It's like a muscle that you sort of, was it you? I don't know who I heard it from.
Wasn't me.
Okay. So, but it is, it's like going through those challenges, and you've been through like significant challenges already. And then with your attack that, it's one of the things that helped you, get through all of this and continue to thrive even more.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's so many other questions we had, and I went off track because I was like, my brain was all over the place.
It's okay.
So you're focused on the be positive messaging, and this is where your career is going in the future. Like what kinds of other things, like if people wanted to hire you or your target audience or whatever, I know you're helping coach people through videos. Is that part of it?
Well, it's kind of the projects. I guess I have 3 projects on the go. One is writing my book. The second is the be positive messaging, and that is really what I'm looking for. There is women to interview, women that don't mind sharing maybe part of their story, their takeaways, what they learned, things that they think could help someone else. Excuse me, that's kind of, I guess you could say, a personal goal. And then professionally, I'm working on a course which I will be releasing online. It's the school is called Video Resume Academy. I just have a landing page. It's not very exciting right now, but I'm going to be sharing learning materials about how you can use video to promote yourself to potential employers. So those 3 things, and then I plan on coming back to the college in September. Hopefully I'll get hired by somebody to teach a course or 2. So those are my goals right now. So I'm going to use my thesis, all of the work I did, and the research and the writing of that, and use that to share the positive takeaways from that with everyone. And then with the be positive messaging, mainly helping women with resilience and young girls.
That's amazing. So if there's anything I can do, I'm happy to jump in. Actually, even with your video resume, let me know, because I can bring in some LinkedIn training tips or whatever. And I've got a bunch of other friends that I know want to help you too.
Can I see this book? Okay. So may I just read really quickly from page 87 of Leslie's book on how to develop a good LinkedIn profile? She says, add multimedia. Adding a visual element to your profile, including video or photos, provides the reader with a more dynamic experience. Include a video bio about yourself and or your company. Amen. Thank you. That's what I'm selling. Video bios.
I'm blushing now. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Thank you, Leslie.
Oh my gosh, you're a doll. I can't believe you still have that. That's amazing.
Of course I do.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I love it. I love it. And so I know that there's so many. Dawn's like messaging here.
Co-partnership, yes.
And I know Dawn would totally be on board too. I know there's so many other people that would like
Awesome.
help you to ladder up, and whatever help you need. The community, I know, is definitely at your disposal.
Or not disposable.
Not disposable.
Yeah.
For so many things. Is there any last mantra or, anything else that, you want to sort of cover off?
So
I know I asked you that question.
One of the questions you asked was about a mantra.
Yeah.
So I think we've answered two of the questions that you asked, but that's good. So the one mantra, I'm not sure if it's a mantra, but it's stuck in my mind for the past several years, but it's do something today that your future self will thank you for. And I just find that such a meaningful and valuable statement, because any activity we engage in, especially as women, should contribute to our self-belief and our self-reliance. So no matter what adversity life throws at you, it can empower you to have courage and strength. So do things today your future self will thank you for.
100%. And it's sometimes those baby steps, because I think fear holds us back a lot, doesn't it, Kimberly?
Yes.
Fear holds us back a lot.
Don't let fear hold you back.
No, clearly.
No, it's okay.
Right? I mean,
that's right.
Right. Yeah. So, and other people can find you on your YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/
Kimberley Black.
Kimberley Black,
and
with an EY.
Just don't forget the EY. Yeah, Kimberley Black, EY.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. Oh my gosh.
And LinkedIn. Those are really the two places I focus on right now.
So if anybody's watching this and they want to help you and sort of ladder up with all these different initiatives that you're going on, they can approach you on LinkedIn. I know you answered me on LinkedIn like right away. Like you had your chat.
LinkedIn's fine. My email is hello@kimberleyblack.com. So if you wanted to connect and do an interview with me, which I would really appreciate, hello@kimberleyblack.com.
Kimberley Black with an EY. Kimberly with an EY Black.com. So we'll
that's not confusing at all.
Yeah, I'm as clear as mud.
Yes, correct. Yes. That is right, Dawn. Yes, exactly. Perfect.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So thank you again, Kimberly. I mean, I wish we could give hugs. I really
virtual hugs.
I know. It's. Anyway, I couldn't gush anymore. I'm so glad that we had this opportunity to chat. I know there were so many people that messaged me privately to say how excited they were that we were going to chat, because everybody wants to see how you're doing. So
thank you.
So thank you so
I'm
much.
doing great.
Clearly.
That's all I can say. Healing well and doing great. And I appreciate any interest and any support that I've received from any one of you who have done anything, even contributing $1 or even sending a message. I really, really appreciate it, and it has contributed to my healing. So bless you.
Oh, I love that so much. Okay, so if there's anybody that is watching this before, well, we couldn't watch it before, but now or after, we want to hear from you guys too. So whether you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook or any of the other channels out there, and of course the replay is going to be available, we want to know what your biggest takeaway was. Kimberly and I both want to hear, like, what are there any things that you can take action out of hearing about Kimberly's story, or anything you want to contribute? We definitely want to hear from you. So also so next week I'm going to be talking about branding with a gal that she used to be my client at Wedding Bells way back in the day when I used to work at Wedding Bells magazine, and she's got this book called Brand Chemistry, and her name's Laura Beauparlant, if I said that right, even though I'm supposed to be bilingual. Laura Beauparlant. And so Laura will be talking about branding and so that'll kind of ladder up, like it kind of works with what you're talking with too about, Kimberly, about that. You're talking about visual and video branding. Laura does it from a visual perspective, from a graphic perspective, but the branding isn't just a logo, that it is so much more than that. So that's what I'm going to be talking about Laura next week. So we're going to talk about that. So anyway, thank you again so much, Kimberly. You're a doll and a dream. And even though I haven't met your husband yet, I want to give him a big squishy hug, because he sounds like the best guy ever. So
I'll tell him.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
All right.
Thanks again.
Thank you. Okay. Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.